welcome to Playing with Possibilities. Y'all, look, y'all know that I'm on here with Ade and Christine. We got Ade 2 weeks in a row, y'all. 2 weeks in a row. Christine is not going to be with us today, but Ade is back. Hey, how are you?
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, hey, hey.
When Christine is away, Ade comes to play.
All right. So, those of you who watch know that the three of us, we talk about everything from spirituality to social justice, from being human and connecting with our ancestors to how the things we do create our reality and how we can intentionally create our collective reality together. So, I'm going to let you go first to introduce yourself and then I will follow up today. How about that?
I felt it already, so I was ready. We're tapped in. We're tapped in.
Yes.
I'm Ade Anifowose. I am a spiritual healer, teacher, sacred drummer, podcaster, and many other great things that you want to find out about. So Google me. My work it really is about rooted in belonging identity. I through my work, I my intention is to create a space for affirmation and acceptance because ultimately that's what we all need. Um, you can find out more by going to lifecoachade.com, lifecoachade.com. I got a workshop coming up, which we'll talk about later, and to join me so we can heal the past and the present.
Mhm.
Over to you, my dear sister.
Okay. So my name is Cecile Armstrong. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a Black woman and an embodied equity consultant, and I am streaming to you live today from the unceded land of the Kickatan colonized as Newport News. I'm also an Amazon best-selling author with Christine and some other fantastic women
Yay!
colleagues. Yay, right? And I'm also the
Mhm.
founder of Inspired by Indigo. It's a online membership community where we learn how to make social equity a habit, and we do that by following 4 pillars: self-care, getting in your body so that you can be prepared to learn, know your facts so that you can undo myths and lies and have the confidence to speak up, undo the work, taking what you've learned and going out and making a difference and doing something good in the community, and then resting and celebrating so you can reset your nervous system and acknowledge your progress before you could move on. Let me see, is there anything else that I forgot to say? Um, all right, if you're interested in any of that, you can hold on. You can find out at my website, cecilearmstrong.com. I have a blog that I put out every Wednesday, and I've got a workshop that's starting tonight that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But before we get started today, talking about how the election is starting to wrap up in the US, let's take a breath. I know I need to sit up straight. I'm sitting over here like hunched over, leaning towards the laptop. So I'm going to ask you to sit up straight with me. Put your head over your shoulders, shoulders over your hips. Ooh, notice where you are carrying tension in your body. If it's in your jaw, wiggle it out. If it's in your shoulders, if your shoulders are all up here, bring them down. If you're carrying the tension anywhere else in your body, notice it and then let it go. And then finally focus on your belly. And if you are holding it in, acting like you're posing for a picture, you are not. Let it go. And sitting up straight allows your belly room to expand. And so we're going to take a deep breath in and feel our belly expand. And then when you're ready, go ahead and exhale and make some noise with it. All right, let's do this one more time. Again, sitting up straight, giving your belly room to expand. Let's take in a breath. And when you're ready, go ahead and exhale and wiggle it out. Shake your body. Whew. Okay. So thank you for joining me in that breath. And today is going to be a short session, and we have a lot of big things to talk about. So, so with that said, we're going to jump right in. The election at the U.S. midterm elections were last week, last Tuesday. Yeah, last Tuesday. And
Mhm.
I was like, wait a minute, is this Tuesday? So it was last Tuesday, the 8th, and they're still counting votes and making sure that everybody's vote is counted in a lot of
Yeah.
places.
Oh, yes. Okay. Last Tuesday. Today's
Yeah,
Monday. I was
Tuesday of
thinking
last
today's
week.
Tuesday. So I'm
Right.
looking
That's
at
why I
my
had to pause.
date.
I was like,
I'm
today
looking at my
Monday or
date. I'm
Tuesday.
like, I was like, wait, how
I
is it
did
the
this.
14th?
I did the same thing. Yeah. It was Tuesday the 8th. All right. So they're still counting votes in a lot of places. However, we the it's confirmed that the Democrats are going to hold on to the Senate. We have 50 seats in the Senate, which means we have the majority because the tiebreaker, even if it's 50-50, is the vice president. And we have a Democratic vice president, Kamala Harris. So she would be the tiebreaker. There is still one seat that's up for grabs, and that's in Georgia. The Herschel Walker Raphael Warnock seat is still up for grabs. And so there's a runoff election December the 6th, and that's going to decide who wins. And my hope, and what I'm putting out there is that because everybody already knows that the Democrats have the majority in the Senate, that that is going to make Republicans not turn out to vote. And so then Raphael Warnock is going to have that seat with ease. That is what I'm claiming, that he is going to win that seat with ease. It is not going to be a close race or a toss up. He's going to win with ease. And with having 51 seats plus the tiebreaker Kamala Harris, if ever need be, that would make Joe Manchin and his little one man, I'm going to hold everything up, make him irrelevant. So yes, that's my hope
It's so
for the Senate.
interesting that they're so close. So interesting that's it's like wait, what?
Well, see, it's not just because a lot of people were voting for Republicans, though. It's because there's been a
Mm,
lot of voter suppression. There's a lot of gerrymandering to make the districts so that they would favor Republicans, even if you
mm,
can, in some
mm,
states, you can have more Democratic votes than Republican, and Republicans still get way more seats because of the way they divide up the districts. So
yeah,
it's
this
not
is
just
more
because a
good.
lot of
Yeah,
people, yeah, it's
yeah,
not just that,
yeah.
because there really are more people who are voting Democrat than there are Republican, but the way things are set up, Republicans still win because they manage to have control and then they skew it so they have even more control. Whew.
Mm,
So
mhm.
in some states, though, and I'm trying to think if Colorado is one of them, and maybe Michigan, they outlaw gerrymandering, so you have to have fair districts, and the districts are set up by like nonpartisan groups, and when they did that, then that made things fair so that everybody's vote actually counts, and they ended up electing Democrats. So that's how it ought to be. South Carolina needs that to happen. South Carolina is like heavily
Mm,
gerrymandered. Texas is another one that is heavily
mm,
gerrymandered.
mm.
So, and then Florida, Ron DeSantis defied the courts who had said that the election map that he came up with, that his administration came up with, was unfair. But the courts didn't do anything when he defied them, and they ended up using that unfair map instead of having to switch it
Wow.
over to something that was more fair. So yeah, that all that sucks. And Democrats still held the Senate. And the last time I looked, which was not today, it was sometime yesterday, there was still a path for Democrats to hold the House. And even if they don't hold the House, it really could be like a razor's edge, like one seat difference
Mm,
um, with who holds the House. And
mhm.
you know, I don't know. This is a historic
Mm,
election because it hasn't been since the 1930s. I think I want to say 1934 since a first term president did not lose control of Congress at the midterms.
really?
So yeah,
Really?
yeah, yeah. So
Wow.
usually for a first term president, 2 years later, the country just flips and changes Congress over to the opposite party.
Wow.
This is the
Didn't that
first
happened
time
to
that
Barack Obama, right? Yeah, that happened to
oh, it
Barack
happens to
Obama.
all of them.
Yeah. Wow.
All of them except for George W. Bush. It didn't happen because we
Mm,
were in the middle of a war. So of course
mhm.
everybody's going to support the person who's in charge instead
But
of creating more
yeah.
chaos. So yeah, but other
Wow.
than that, it's been since 1934. So I think it was
Wow.
34, at least 1930s. So that says a lot with all of the voter suppression, with all of the disinformation, with all of the redistricting and gerrymandering and all of that kind of stuff, that the Democrats still managed to hold on to the Senate and have a shot at holding on to the House. That says a
Mm,
lot.
Mhm.
With
Mhm.
all the creeping fascism and
Yeah.
outright grabs at fascism and
Mm,
all the division that everybody keeps hearing about and all the
mm,
marginalization of all these groups, the fact that enough people turned out to stop that from happening, even if it was only by a razor thin margin, the fact that
mhm,
enough people turned up to stop it means that people don't want that shit. We really do want to do
mhm,
better. Mhm.
mhm. That is
Yeah.
powerful. I've actually never heard it like that, but that gives me a whole new perspective. I mean, you know, I don't live in Atlanta anymore for now, so the information I get is kind
Mhm.
of. And this last few weeks has been busy for me, so I followed some things, but to actually
Mhm.
hear it put in that context, it's just like, in fact, I think it just makes me even more hopeful. I've been
Mhm.
hopeful about the whole thing. Like some of the people who've been running, it's like, really? I mean,
Mhm.
even Mr. What's his name? Walker as well. It's like, this,
That
what is
right there was
leadership?
a straight up that was a straight up power grab. They wanted a warm body to hold the seat, somebody that they could tell what to do. It was not about him. It was about just
Mhm,
having name recognition because he's a, former football player. It was about
mhm.
having name recognition, having a warm body to fill that seat so they could get power. But now they can't get it. They cannot get it. And the other
Yeah.
thing that was like made me super hopeful and super happy is that the number of, I think it's 18 to 24 is the category. Anyway, the number
Mhm,
of very young voters, Gen Z voters
mhm,
that turned out was amazing. Enough Gen Z voters turned out that their votes would cancel out the boomer vote if they all voted R, enough Gen Z voters turned out voting D
mhm,
to cancel them out. 63% of Gen Z voters voted Democrat. 63%. That is huge. And 20, I think it was, I could be wrong on this, but I think it was 27% of eligible voters in that age category actually voted. That is a
wow,
lot for that age group.
wow.
They
Yes.
set records in their numbers, and I saw videos of them standing in line, waiting for hours in states where there was same-day registration. They were standing in line waiting for
Wow.
hours so they could
Mhm,
register and vote, and
mhm,
this is something that the media just got so wrong. They love this narrative that the Republicans are um, going to take over and the Republicans are going to win and the Democrats are in disarray. I mean, that's the narrative all the time. And they
mhm,
said it this time and they kept talking about this red wave. And people kept pointing out that the polls that they were using were polls that were put out by Republican institutions. So of course they were going to lean Republican, and the nonpartisan ones and the independent ones kept saying, "I don't think this is going to happen." But the media just kept latching on to these polls that had like 500 people, then and 60% of them voted for Trump in 2016, and that was the poll that they were running with in the narrative that they wanted because they like stirring up
yeah.
anxiety, and they're doing it for
Mhm.
clickbait, which is why I
That's
stopped
it.
watching. They were like a
That's
few
it.
people
That's
a
it.
few people that I watched, but the ones that I watched, not on TV, on Twitter, which, ooh, that's a whole nother dumpster fire, but the people that I followed were ones that looked at the real polls and followed the facts. They were following the
Mhm,
information. They weren't just like hyping
mhm.
stuff up for no reason. So anyway, I think
That's
we
it.
have a whole lot of reasons to be hopeful. I really do.
Yeah.
And the first Gen Z politician got elected in Florida.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, so
It you
that's
know,
historic.
I mean, you talked about the media getting it wrong, and then maybe another question is, did they? Was it intentional? Were they
Oh, I believe it was intentional.
right, regurgitating
Yeah.
something? Who's really putting together the news? However, several things come to mind. I think of what my mentor, Reverend Deborah L. Johnson, would always say, like, the truth will be told even if it takes a liar to tell it. Like
Mhm.
in
Oh, I
this
like that.
case, it's like the truth of who we are and what we are will reveal itself. No matter
Mhm.
how much lies are being told, the truth will be told, and it's often
Mhm.
unexpected. We don't see it coming. And
Mhm.
it also, for me, shows that the importance of holding a vision, to not get
Mhm.
caught up in the panic, in the
Right.
negative stories, to, oh
Mhm.
my God, I don't know what to do. No, no, no. You know what to do. Do what you know to
Mhm.
do, because the
Mhm.
loudest energy gets the attention. And if we
Mhm.
keep focusing, you said something, I don't even remember if you said it at the beginning. Somehow I felt like I've heard you say. We didn't really talk this much this morning, but the idea is, yeah, during when you open, just like it's important whether it's politics or anything else, but we're talking about politics. Don't just think, okay, God, okay, good, job's done now. We can go back to what we're doing
Oh,
as usual.
that
No,
was before this. That was
yeah,
before this. I was talking about
yes,
seeing some people on Twitter,
right.
specifically white folks, saying,
Mm,
"All right, we got 50 seats. We don't really need to worry about Georgia." Yes, we do. And that that is something, especially in this arena of politics, that is something that white folks do a lot. And I'm just calling
mm,
it out for what it is. That's something that white
mm.
folks do. We get the bare minimum. We're barely holding on, and they're like, "Okay, we're good." Whereas black folks and other people of color is like, no, this is tenuous. This is not a
Mm.
full, like, we don't have a, what do you call it? I don't want to say stranglehold, but that's what I'm thinking of. They still have a stranglehold.
A
They are
stronghold.
not going they're not going to give up. So that means that we need to make sure that we can make as much progress as possible. Why would you say that the Georgia Senate seat doesn't matter just because we have 50? No, we want that 51. We don't want to have to
Mhm,
worry about if Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema decide to caucus with the Republicans or decide to switch party. We don't want to have to worry about that. So why would you
mhm,
say that that final seat doesn't matter? That final seat matters, and I was thinking when I saw people saying this kind of stuff, it reminded me of every time we make progress, like even all the way back to the 1800s with emancipation and the government setting up. Not necessarily reparations, but promising the 40 acres and the mule and setting up the
mhm,
Freedmen's Bank and all this other stuff so that black folks who had been enslaved would have something to work with instead of just
mhm,
like wandering on the roads and not having a place
mhm,
to settle. And then what happened? They got tired of trying to enforce that because the
mhm,
South was so loud in their opposition to making sure that formerly enslaved people had anything to live on, that they went ahead
mhm,
and gave up. And that's how Jim Crow
mhm,
was able to slide in, which
mhm,
basically was keeping people down. And
mhm,
every time something happens like this, it's white folks that get tired and decide, well, we've done enough. And
mhm.
so with this, I'm just asking that
Yeah,
if that's been your attitude, if you're like, we've done enough, we can rest. No,
wrap it
we
up.
can pause. We can
Mhm,
pause and we can take care of ourselves, but it's not time to stop. This is
mhm,
not the time to stop. We actually have some momentum. Use
mhm.
that and keep
Yes.
pushing forward so that we can create the space for the human rights, so that we can create all the things that we say we want. If we stop right now before we have it, then we're done. They're going to keep coming.
Mm,
They are not going to stop. They have been working on this fascism creep for as long as I've been alive. They started this
mm,
before I was born. And they are just getting to the point where they're able
mm,
to have someone like Donald Trump come along and say it's okay to feel like this. And
mhm.
people are running for office saying that they don't
Awesome.
believe the elections are safe, and running for
Mhm,
office and saying that they don't believe that people who are not white should have equal rights, and telling other people that it's okay to say that. It took them more than 50 years to get here. So why would we think that after one election where we barely
Yes.
have the lead that it's okay for us to stop? That kind of message, as you can tell, that kind of message pisses me off.
We're switching seats today. Last week, I was the one on fire. Even my computer was smoking last week. Like, dude, my mic was like, careful. So it's your turn today.
But I'm just saying, I'm just asking
Mhm,
for people who are following this, especially for white folks, because black folks already know. Other people of color already know. People in marginalized communities already know that the gains that we make are not permanent. The gains that we make, there's always somebody in opposition. And the people who are trying to do harm, they somehow have money, they somehow have these backers who are entrenched, and they are going to keep going. Even when they lose, they are going to keep going because they know that this is just one battle. And so we can pause and take a break and get centered and get in our bodies, but it's not done. It is not done until everybody is free. So,
That
okay, so
that
that's
right
my big
there.
message for today.
No, it's a big message, and it is simple as well. It's big and simple until everybody is
Hmm.
free. Not just about Democrats or Republicans. If that's
Right.
just your mission, if that's your vision, like okay, if the Democrats have take the House, yeah, okay, that's it. No, 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 no.
No, that is
I
not
don't even
it.
want to say you're not dreaming big enough. You're not seeing the fullness of what it means to
Not
be a
seeing the big
human
picture.
family.
Right.
You're not seeing the big
Right.
picture, and
Right.
when we don't
Because
see the
there's
big
another way
picture,
to live.
there is another way to live. There's another
Mhm.
way to be in community. There's another way to be in this
Mhm.
village called America. In this case,
Mhm.
it's not just,
Mhm.
people end up being reactionary. It's like, oh
Mhm.
my God, how did this happen? How did we
Mhm.
get here? But if you have
Yeah.
a vision of
Right.
human rights, you
Mhm.
realize this is just one aspect of many
Right.
other things that need healing.
Mhm. Right,
So
and I'm
there's
not even saying that the
it's
Democrats
ongoing.
are perfect and that they have the
Right.
vision down. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that these people are headed in the direction that I wanna go.
Hmm.
The other people
Hmm.
are headed the opposite way. These people are headed in the direction that I wanna go, so I'm gonna get with them and then see if we
Yeah.
can't push them even more because I am, like, looking for I don't know that it'll happen in my lifetime, but I would love to see, um, our medical care, everybody be able to get, medical care, not
Yeah.
insurance necessarily, but everybody have access to medical care. I want everybody to have access to good
I
housing.
really
I
don't
want people to be
understand
food
why that's
secure.
complicated. Why is that complicated for the citizens of a country have health care? Why is
Mm,
health your health is your wealth, which
mhm,
means the people are the wealth of a country. Why
mhm.
would you not want people to be healthy unless you have another agenda?
That was getting ready to say because the people who have the power just want the power and the money and don't care.
That's it.
The people are cogs in their machine, but
Hmm.
people have power. They do. We showed up in by the millions and we voted
Hmm.
and we were able to, make this historic vote. And so we need to show up by the millions now to help people unionize, to push for that, universal health care, to push for basic housing. I would love to see everyone have universal basic income so that everybody's basic needs are met. I would
Hmm.
love for that to become a reality, in the United States and around the
Hmm.
world. I just think that there are enough resources in the world for everybody to be sustained. It doesn't
Yes,
have to
there's
be this huge
enough.
imbalance. It doesn't have to be this
Supply is
huge
the issue.
imbalance.
There
Mhm.
is enough for everybody. The supply
Mhm.
is the issue.
Mhm.
And this question keeps popping up in my head, and I'm like talking to it, but it keeps popping up. It's almost like the question is like, come on, ask. And it's kind of taking a little bit of a left field. Maybe not so much. This is playing with
Okay.
possibilities, right?
Playing with possibilities. Play with it.
Would you ever run for office? Like,
I can't see that happening. I'm not gonna say never
I
because
can.
every time I've said never, the thing has happened. So I'm not
Hmm.
saying never, but I'll just
Uh-huh.
say I don't see that.
I mean, because I've listened to you, and I mean, of course, I've known you for a while now. I haven't even known you for a year yet. But it feels like I've
Nope, I
known
don't
you
think it's been a year.
January. Yeah, I feel like I've known you for like years.
It does seem like that.
Wow. Okay.
That's what Christine
Um,
says too, because I've been knowing her for a
yeah.
year and a half, and she keeps thinking it's longer.
Yeah, I feel like it's longer as I'm talking. I'm like, wait a minute, just this year. But when I listen to you and your work, and part of what you do and the consciousness you bring to politics
Oh,
is what is
thank you.
needed. You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
It's what is needed. I mean, that's what it's like politics with heart. Politics that think of
Yeah.
people.
Well, people should
Um,
come first. People
yes,
before profits. Mhm.
yes. But
Yeah.
right now, in most Western countries, it's just profit before people. And there's a great
Right.
idea to do for people, or children, or women, or men, or what. Yeah, that's a great idea. We're looking at it, but we just don't know how we're gonna pay for it. We pay for other
Right.
things. Money for
Right.
war comes out of nowhere.
Right.
Suddenly, there's money to deal with that. There's money to build
Mhm.
prisons,
Mhm.
to prison people. But when it comes to what brings out the best and what it means to be human, the art facilities, youth
Mhm.
centers, places
Mhm.
where young people can nurture their own gift, their own talent, and
Mhm.
interact with other beings and
I was getting ready
understand.
to say, getting people out of their houses and out of their
Yes,
isolation and interacting is what makes a difference. Because when I used to run
yes.
this, grassroots I don't know, it was a Department of Justice grant, and it was a grassroots thing to reduce violent crime and high crime, low income, what they call high crime, low income area,
Mhm.
and we did that at the grassroots level, and it was about getting people out of the houses, getting people to know
Mm.
their neighbors. We did this thing that we used to call block walks and community cleanups. And I had the volunteers and people from different city departments like codes compliance. We had what used to be called Dominion Power. They would come out, all these different
Mm.
organizations and some nonprofits that we would walk. we would set up this like square block area and we would just walk
Mm,
and knock on doors, tell people what we were doing, find out what repairs they needed, because a lot of people in this community, they don't know that we could have somebody from solid waste come out and fix their trash can if the wheel was off. And so we had
mm,
solid waste with us. And if the trash cans were broken, we'd fix it. If they didn't have numbers on their house, we had bought numbers and we would put
mm,
the numbers on their house so that if there's an
mm,
emergency in fire or, the ambulance or whatever is trying to get to the house, they now have numbers on the house so that people can
mm,
see and see the location clearly. And we would ask them, will you come and volunteer with us? And then when we did community cleanups, it was about getting all the neighbors together and talking about, okay, we're going to choose a date. What
mm,
what do we need? And we would have on the day, we'd have like a bunch of volunteers. We'd get like a bunch of high school students and young people. And then we
mm.
even had businesses that donated their time, like using a bobcat or something. And this was after Hurricane Isabel. So a lot of people had stuff like, trees
Mm,
falling in the backyard or stuff that had gotten damaged. And we were just like clearing all of that stuff out. And Solid Waste
wow.
donated their time to pick it up and take it out. We had people that donated food. So after all this planning, these people who didn't necessarily know each other came together
Mhm,
to do the planning, had other people to
mm,
help and come and like clean everything up. We even got like trees and flowers donated for people to put in their yards. And then
wow.
afterwards, we all ate
Wow.
together.
Yeah.
And by the time we finished that, those people on that block, were like, oh, like old people were saying, I was afraid of my young neighbors, because
Mm,
I just assumed that they were thugs, but then they got to know
mhm,
them and then they weren't. And I remember this one couple was like, I was afraid of the young people down the street. And by the time we were done, the young people were coming and like pulling the old people's trash cans to the street every
mm,
week, because they got
mm.
to know each other, stopped being afraid of each
Yes,
other, and then the neighborhood could
yes.
come together. And that kind of stuff, it sounds small, but it makes a
Hmm,
huge difference. And it changed the whole like, um, what do you call it, atmosphere of the neighborhood, and we did that, like,
mhm,
block by block by block, and it made a
mhm.
huge difference, and those changes have stayed in a lot of places.
Yeah,
So,
and then
you know
the leaders know that works, but instead they talk about crime, 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 getting more police, more police. So they
yeah,
scared people into doing
right,
things that they don't really want to do, and scare people
right,
into thinking correctly. Crime, crime. How
right.
long are politicians, even here? How long have they been talking about crime? Crime, crime,
I can't
crime.
I can't remember where it was, but I shoot, I wish I could remember where this was, where they were talking about crime, 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 and then after the election, the Democrat won, and then the police chief said, "Now that the election is over, I can release this data that shows that crime has actually gone down every year for the past 3 or 4 years."
You're
But
kidding.
while the election was going on, they were like, "Crime is so bad, crime is so bad." But then as soon as the election was over, they were like, "Yeah, crime has been going down."
Yeah, we need
Yeah.
a new way when it comes to politics, because, and especially
Mhm.
when people are watching the news, mainstream media, and getting information from there, it's easy for people to say to feel disenfranchised. Like, I'm not doing it. I'm not voting. I'm not. But we
Right.
got to change the way we think about almost
Right.
everything, about politics,
Well,
about our lives, about our neighbors.
mhm.
Well,
This one girl,
mm.
Olivia Juliana on Twitter, she was before the election, she posted something that said something like, "My vote won't count. My one little vote won't count." And she said 1 million eligible voters.
Oh, that's nice. That's
Right.
nice. So I'm
Yeah.
like, oh,
It's
that. Yeah, that's good.
right. And so if you're watching and you're like, what comes next? I can tell you what comes next. What comes next is learning how to talk to each other, because Thanksgiving is next week and there's going to be
Mhm.
all these families getting together that have people that have opposing politics. And so what comes next is learning how to sit down and have that conversation, because somebody's going to be gloating and somebody's going to be mad, and rather than sitting there and like grinding your teeth like, oh, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to cause an argument, why not learn how to stay centered and have the conversation in a way that protects your energy and plant seeds for the other person? You can have the conversation in a way that holds space for that person to still have some dignity and change their mind. And so my course starts tonight. How to talk to your racist friends and family. And this isn't just for racist friends and family. This is for transphobic, for ableist, for sexist, for anybody that others other people. If you've got those people in your life, if they're friends, families, colleagues, people who take up space where you take up space, this is for you. And what we do is follow those 4 pillars I talked about in the beginning: self-care, know your facts, undo the work, rest and rejoice. And I turn that into, how do you follow those 4 pillars to have a conversation, to know whether or not the conversation is worth having? Because if you're arguing with
Mhm.
somebody and that's not talking to you in good faith, it's not worth it. Save your energy for somebody who's going to listen. We talk about, how do you hold space for yourself? How do you get grounded? We spend a lot of time on self and community care, because if you get that right in the beginning, the rest of it is going to fall into place. We learn how to choose what facts you want to bring, because depending on what that person has, what mindset that person has, and what topic they focus on, that's what you choose. And we talk about how to find the information. And then we talk about how to actually undo the work. How do you actually have the conversation? There's a whole lot of things that go into it. It's not just walking up to somebody going, you know what, I'm
Hey,
grounded and I want to talk to you right now. It's not
right.
that. It's
You
not
just
that.
might be grounded. You just might be grounded.
Right. So there's a whole lot that goes into that. And then at the end, when it's over, giving yourself permission to pause and take a breath and celebrating what went right, even if the only thing that went right was that you tried. If everything else was a disaster, the fact that you tried makes it easier to try the next time. And so we cover all of this. And at the end of the week, you actually have a roadmap for one person or two people, but specific to you. You have a roadmap for how these conversations are going to go. And it doesn't even take a whole lot of time. It's not like I'm asking you to meet me every day on Zoom. We're going to have a kickoff tonight. We're going to have a live kickoff tonight where we're going to get our mindset right, figure out what we want out of this class that's specific to you, because everybody shows up for different reasons, even if we're trying to learn how to talk to our friends and family. And then for the next 6 days, you're going to get an audio lesson that you can listen to whenever you want to during the day, and then just post a comment. Post a comment in the chat, and then we're all going to talk, and then we're going to do a Zoom wrap up Tuesday of next week for you to, practice if you want to, for you to answer and ask any final questions, for people to get to know each other, because you've been talking in the group chat, so now you get to see each other face to face, and then at the end, you're going to walk off with this roadmap for how to have this conversation, how to do this. And this is how people change minds. I know someone who went through this before. She's been a student of mine for a while, has gone through this before. And she told me on Tuesday, she said, "You are the grandmother of what happened today." And I'm like, "What happened?" And she told me that she has been changed her attitude about talking to her mom. And her mom actually voted Democrat. She didn't even see it coming, and her mom told her. She was like, she didn't vote straight Democrat, but she did vote Democrat for what counted. And so that's a huge win. And those are the kinds of changes that happen when you learn how to talk to people. When you learn how to approach them instead of saying, "You're wrong, I can't stand you." It's like, "Wait a minute, why do you think that? Really? Can I tell you
Yes.
some facts? Let me show you this." Really, and
Hmm.
hold space. Don't be accusatory. Just invite them in. It's different. So I can show you the steps for how to do this. So sign up at cecilarmstrong.com/friends-and-family.
So if I was to summarize what you're doing, and basically what you're doing tonight is you're teaching people how to fly a plane,
Yes.
because we have the left wing and the right wing. If
Mhm.
those wings are not aligned and working together with the plane ain't gonna go nowhere. So it's
Mm-mm.
important to understand everything, the mechanics of having a wing on the left, wing on the right, so that we can all fly happily, safely in the right direction. So thank you
Mhm.
for creating more pilots so we can fly together. It is
Aw,
necessary.
thank you.
Mhm. It
Thank
is
you.
necessary. Can you imagine if on a plane someone tells you we're getting on this plane, you don't even have to pay for your ticket today because the wings they're not really aligned. So we're trying to get them to work together, but sometimes for whatever reason, if it's too hot on one side, one wing won't work right. But you can get on the plane, you're going to be free. We're going to nobody's going to get on that. But we
Mm-mm.
take that same approach, like that's the right wing and that's the left wing, and I don't want to talk to them. We don't go
Mhm.
anywhere. It's a
Mm-mm.
constant fight. The
No, you
people lose
gotta
their
be able to talk to
lives.
people.
Yeah,
Whew. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. This is life or death for a lot of people. That's
Hmm.
why you gotta know I mean, I talk to people who are racist, sexist, ableist, transphobia all the time, you know,
Hmm.
but I know where to put my energy. I can figure that out.
Yes,
And you don't have to do it all at once. It's
yes.
about doing it in pieces and not giving up and knowing how to have the conversation. That's like totally
Hmm.
different. I mean, I could tell you how many people showed up, have shown up to my workshop thinking that they're not racist when they say and do things that are racist all the time. And then as I'm
Mhm,
pointing it out, in the beginning, they're like, "Wait a minute, that's not me. I didn't." And then they're like, "Wait, yeah, I sure did do that." And
mhm,
that's not who I thought I was. I want to do something different, but because I was able to
mhm.
hold space
Yes.
instead of saying you're a racist, saying, "Hey,
Mhm,
do you realize how what you did is harmful?" There's a
mhm.
difference.
There's a difference
So,
because
mhm,
everybody's been traumatized, and sometimes, if not all the time, that's a trauma response. Being a
mhm,
racist, it's something that hasn't been healed, something that hasn't been
mhm,
addressed. So it's
mhm.
projected. What you don't transform, you're going to transmute. You're going to put
Woo!
it out there. If you
Yep.
don't transform
Mhm,
it, and it comes out in different ways, you blame other people for your own well-being. But anyway,
mhm. Now, speaking of this trauma response, you have a workshop
yeah,
coming up.
we got great segues, don't we? Yes, representing our ancestors, a
Ooh, I said
grief
out
ritual.
ancestors. Should say our.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, hold on. Let me fix this.
Okay, representing our ancestors, a grief ritual. That it's really about recognizing that there were people who came before you, how they lived, their energy, their vibration, their thoughts, their dreams, their drama was passed on to you. It's not good or bad, it's just what it is. So
Mhm,
we have an opportunity to heal what was passed on to us. Some of it is your stuff. And when we come together in community, we don't have to carry the heaviness of grief alone. Just by
mhm.
being in community with another, just they hold space for you, you hold space for them. That's November 11th. The link to find out more. No, it's
Oh,
not. No,
hold
no,
on.
I got it
This
wrong. No, I got it wrong. November 9th. Oh, what did
yeah, I was
oh
gonna
it takes
say
this.
she she was talking about the conversations. It takes patience to a max. Yes.
Yes.
Mhm,
Everything that was ever created takes time. Life
mhm.
takes time. When you plant a seed today, you don't expect to have something in 2 days' time, even though some of the
Right.
things that we do eat go through that fast pace. And some of us say,
Mm,
no, we don't want something that's been injected with steroids. It's the same thing when it
mhm,
comes to relating to one another. So, yes, it takes
mhm,
patience to the max. We have to be patient with ourselves, and if we don't know how
mhm.
to be patient with ourselves, we can't be patient with another. So the
Can't be
grief
patient with
ritual,
anybody else, right?
you can't. You really can't because you don't know how
Mhm,
to do it.
mhm. Yep. Alright, so if you're interested in this grief ritual, representing our ancestors, a grief ritual,
Lost
this is the
somebody that you
link.
love, but that you wanted. Maybe,
Alright, you were, like,
yes,
breaking
that's the link.
up.
Thank
I
you.
didn't know where you were,
Maybe,
so
uh, oh, maybe I was supposed to say that. I said even if you're a Republican who's grieving about the election result, that's what I said. But I guess the ancestors was like, no, leave that alone. But I said it again. Oops. But
Alright, well,
whatever
if
you're
you're
grieving,
interested
maybe
in the
it's a
grief
job.
ritual, the link is on the screen.
Yeah,
Mhm.
bit.ly/ROA dash or hyphen NOV 19, November 19th, 3 p.m. Eastern. Join us and let's heal together. Let's grow together. We are a community, no matter how we see what we believe in. Oh, one other thing I need to say. December um 10th, I'm releasing my
Mhm.
first book.
Mm.
So spiritual appetizers for the soul, and it's a cookbook, but it's food for the soul, not for, well, actually it could be for your physical body, because as I shared earlier, somebody said, you writing a cookbook. Yeah, cookbook for the soul. Little inspirations to help you realign, to come back to yourself, to remember to be still, to remember to scan your body, and maybe even
Mhm.
make room for patience, so that you don't have to
Ooh.
do anything to be patient. You can just take a deep breath and allow patience to rise up from within you. When you rise up from
Mhm.
that place, fully connected, patience becomes your daily counterpart. So
Mhm.
yeah, I would have a link soon. Next, well, I have a link soon. You can go to lifecoachade.com. It's not on there yet, but it will be lifecoachade.com. That's my website. And the book is Spiritual Appetizers for the Soul.
Awesome. Alright, and so, um, just one more time, if somebody is looking for anything that I was talking about, you can find it at cecilearmstrong.com/links. That you'll find my blog, you'll find the How to Talk to Your Racist Family, uh, friends and family, you'll find the link to join my membership community where we go through the 4 pillars to create social equity to make that a habit. You can find it there at CecileArmstrong.links. And I had something in my head that I wanted to say, and I can't remember what. So, what are you talking about on your podcast this week?
Well, my podcast is on hiatus until next
Oh, is
year.
it? Oh,
Yes, season 5 starts in January. I've had to
okay.
step back
All
on
right.
a lot of different things I was doing, which is another reason why I haven't been here regularly. The
Yeah.
book needed to be done. I needed to clear my mind and refocus. There's a
Hmm.
lot of
I
other
don't know why
shift
I
that's
thought you
happened.
were back to your podcast.
No,
Okay.
no. Spirit
All
told me
right.
step back, and I was like, up until next year. It's like, yeah, but it makes sense.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
sometimes you
Well,
just
you
got
do
to
have a
pull
lot
back.
going on. Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
All right. So, well, on my blog this week, I'm talking about the election, but instead of talking about the stuff we talked about today, I'm actually going into things that happened in the states. Like slavery was on the ballot in 5 states. The
mm,
abortion rights was on the ballot in 5 states, and so I'm talking about what the outcomes were, and what it says about people who split vote. Like if they voted to not to codify an abortion ban, but they still elected a Republican governor or something like that. So anyway, those are the things that I'm talking
interesting.
about in my blog for this
Mm,
week. So
mm.
yeah, all right. Well,
Well, just
thank you. This was a
let
good
us know.
conversation for today. Yeah.
Indeed, let us know when you decide to run for office. You know you got my support. I am there for
Thank
you,
you.
with you.
Thank you. All right, y'all. As always, I'm sending y'all fierce love and thank you a
Peace and blessings,
day.
everyone. Thank you, thank
We'll
you,
see
thank
you
you,
next
Cecile.
time.
Yes, indeed.